All right, we're on, my man. So
Awesome.
you're here to ask me some XRP questions. I'll try to answer them the best I can, of course. And just to let people know that have been watching. So I've been investing in XRP prior to 2020. I know that. I think around 2017 was the start. But I've jumped in and out and in and out. And then there was a time where I said, okay, that's it. I'm in. No more. No more jumping around. I'm going to hold, and that's going to be the end of it. So jump in, man. What do you got for me?
That's unbelievable that you jumped in that early. That's pretty
No,
crazy.
not, a lot of people did it, but go ahead. What do you got?
No, so we'll start out with this. What separates XRP from all the other mainstream crypto? I mean, there's so many out there,
Yeah,
a
but
bunch
what?
of junk.
Okay. Well, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. But when you just give me 5 coins, and I'll tell you what separates it from them.
Okay. All right. So obviously you have the big one, Bitcoin. You have another one, Ethereum. You have Solana, and then let's say HBAR.
Okay. So it's almost too easy to separate it from Bitcoin or Ethereum. Number one, just a quick thing about Bitcoin. I invest in Bitcoin, Solana, a little bit of Ethereum, not much, HBAR, XRP, and probably a few others. So I do have Bitcoin, but I am not buying now at these prices, $110,000 or whatever. Difference being, Bitcoin, they will say it's a store of value. So it would be like the digital gold. That's it. It is not going to process. It is never going to be money. Actually,
Okay.
just like people say that gold has been money for 5,000 years. I'm sorry, but gold is not money right now. It's not. Nobody is exchanging it. It has all the, all the values or whatever for to be money, and Bitcoin could be that also, but Bitcoin's too slow. You can never exchange it. Try going to the supermarket if they let you pay with Bitcoin and try paying, and you're going to be sitting there for 20 minutes for the transaction to go through, if it even works. Or try taking your Bitcoin off an exchange like Coinbase or Uphold or whatever it is, and putting it onto a cold wallet, and you'll see how long it takes compared to XRP. So that's Bitcoin's difference. Ethereum is more like smart contracts where people build on Ethereum. Same thing. It's never going to be Ethereum Ether or whatever is never going to be an exchange of money. I don't think Solana is either. Solana is kind of like the 2.0 of Ethereum somewhat. I'm not big on Solana right now. I do own it. I don't know much about it. I try to research as much as I can. I do realize it has a lot of good qualities to it. But the only one that kind of compares somewhat to XRP would be HBAR. And HBAR is on Hashgraph. It's not even on a blockchain. But the difference being, there's a lot of similarities. HBAR could be used as money. It could be used as a lot of things, just like XRP. It can be used, it could be, and it will be used tokenizing a lot of things. For instance, the HBAR had the first building in Manhattan tokenized. I read about that. But as far as being what we would consider money, whether you and me sending money across the world or whether big banks or big countries, if you want to send $1 trillion from Japan to New York, you're going to be using XRP in the future. That is the biggest difference. You're not going to be using Bitcoin, not in a million years. You're not going to be using Ethereum or Solana. You're going to be using XRP, and they call it cross-border payments for that reason.
Okay.
And they also say on-demand liquidity, because what that means is it's liquid within 5 seconds, or it'll be liquid in 30 seconds, let's say. So when I send something across the world and I send it in dollars and there's another currency, let's say the Japanese yen or, whatever it may be, it will turn into that currency. It will go from the dollar to the XRP. It'll go on the XRP ledger, or, lightning fast. 5 seconds later, it'll turn into Japanese currency, and then it'll be liquid. You can go and spend that currency.
Okay, so you're saying that the main difference for XRP is just that cross-border potential.
Not just that, man. There's so much for XRP. Now you have to keep in mind, you have to separate Ripple and XRP. So Ripple is the company that issued XRP or issues it. Once it's issued, once you and I own it, it's decentralized. It is not centralized. But right now, Ripple has, an escrow account or whatever that they release it. Once all of those coins are released, it's totally decentralized. But to answer your question, the Ripple has so much going on as a company that it's literally unbelievable. I'm just pulling up some stuff here. So they did a hidden road acquisition, which means they're going to be able to almost be like a similar like an E-Trade or something like that in the future. They did G Treasury. That was like $1 billion transition. So basically they have a piece of treasury companies. So you take like Bitcoin, where you have MicroStrategy, where MicroStrategy basically, I don't even know what they actually do. All they do is buy Bitcoin, and people buy the MicroStrategy stock because it owns Bitcoin. And it was one of the top stocks in the S&P 500 last year. So Ripple is getting involved in all of those things. And they're actually going to be a bank at some point. They're going to be their own bank.
Okay. So not to interrupt you, but my next question, it links towards my next question. So you believe that banks and other government operated systems, they're going to be adopting crypto, and XRP is going to be one of the main ones in which they adopt and utilize?
Without a doubt. That's what their XRP's whole thing was. So back in 2021, I'm not big on Twitter or Instagram and these things, but I used to be big on Twitter. But it was back when, the protests were going on, all this other stuff, and COVID. And so it was like kind of crazy. I'm on Twitter all the time, and I was always interested in finance and things. And I was actually conversing with some Bitcoin maxis, meaning the guys who just buy Bitcoin. There's nothing else besides Bitcoin. I remember telling one of these guys who I had a lot of respect for, still do, but I was like, he just said, at the time he was living in Puerto Rico. This is where a lot of these Bitcoin guys were. And he has a bunch of different businesses, very successful guy. But he wrote to me, hello, on, I think it was Twitter. I don't remember. And I'm like, oh, it's this. What happened was I made a comment on one of his posts or something. And he saw it, and then started following me, and then I was, just like, oh, okay. And then I didn't do anything, but I asked him a question, and then anyway, he said hello one day, and I said, hey, and he said, what are you doing, as far as buying? And I said, I'm buying Bitcoin, I'm buying XRP. I mean, at the time, I think it was just Bitcoin, XRP, and Ethereum. And I could tell he was a little bit like, XRP. I mean, every guy that you looked at, like Crypto are us, the guy that see, I'm George, we're all George. He, yeah, I mean, I think it's Crypto are us. He bashed XRP so much. Like, he went to a conference, I think it was in Miami, and he was asking people at a Bitcoin conference, what do you think about XRP? And they're like, nah. And he's like, yeah, it sucks, basically. But now, if you watch his videos, he's not hyper on it, but he has to talk about it. He has to, because that's when you know. And unfortunately, the guys who thought, like, listen, I considered myself a libertarian. I actually joined the Libertarian Party. God, it was so long ago. It was probably 2015. No. It was during the Obama years. Because I just didn't like what was going on. It was probably around the time when Trump was going after Obama, thinking about running, and it was like all this crazy stuff. And I joined the Libertarian Party, and they send you a book, and you know, I knew libertarianism or whatever through Ron Paul, which I liked. And part of that was finance. Like if you talk to libertarians, they actually know how the Federal Reserve was formed. They've read the book, The Creature from Jekyll Island, you know, which is an actual place. Just all these different things. So I was into that. And so I do understand what the Bitcoin guys think, like get it out of the hands of the banks and stuff like that. But it's kind of like being in New York City in 1980 and saying, get everything out of the mafia. Like it's good, it's great wishful thinking, but what happens if you can't?
Okay.
Are you be that rebel, you know, that like is not involved? So I was not a Bitcoin maxi. I was like, listen, you know, it's great to be that way. I mean, a lot of those guys are multimillionaires, but if they're not multimillionaires, they're going to have to switch to like an XRP and start buying and so forth because it's happening, you know, end of story. But the good thing is that you can own this crypto and you're outside of the actual banking system. Now, we'll see how regulated it is and everything, but you know, it's different than Fed coin, you know, which they used to talk about all the time. Like Fed coin is going to come out, and then the government's going to know exactly what's going on, what you're doing, and all these other things.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I think the main thing is I'm 24 years old. So I'm young. It's at a pivotal point. You see a lot of news when it comes to these things. A lot of people my age don't know when it comes to this. I mean, I only stumbled upon this just because I knew somebody that was interested in it and so forth. And they tell you, and then you start looking at articles and you're like, wait a minute, this is very, very interesting. It's a very interesting concept. So I think for someone my age what makes XRP safe to use? Like, is there a system that makes it unhackable or a secure system for transactions? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So it's built on a unique consensus system, whereas like Bitcoin and Ethereum, you actually have to mine those, you know, like Bitcoin, you have to mine. And so it's Ripple has a protocol algorithm that makes it safe. I'm looking over here because I do have something up here. There's validators, you know, on the system, and those validators, I think there's 150 of them. It comprises of universities and like financial institutions and so forth. And these validators, they validate in 3 to 5 seconds or something. Kind of like HBAR has a government council. This is like somewhat similar to that, but a little bit different. And so once a transaction is confirmed, it's done, you know. And so hacking the system, I mean, for me, I'm not a tech guy, so saying that, you know, it's unhackable, but we're talking about a company that's going to be worth, I think this company is going to be bigger than Ripple. I honestly do. And people might think I'm crazy. I really don't care. That's why I invest in XRP. I think they're going to be that big to where, you know, Google basically, it's almost unhackable. So if you have a website on WordPress or something like that, you'll get hacked. I've gotten hacked all the time. I have websites, you know, for businesses, and it's like, how the heck did this? Where did this come from? You know, but why is it that if someone doesn't get your password for Google or something like that, and you do the two the validator system or whatever, like you have to validate, you know,
Two authentication method.
That's basically like what Ripple's doing, but with 150 different validators.
Okay. Okay. So it's good. Then security it's there.
Yeah, and it's going to keep getting better, you know, as time goes on. So yes, the security is there, or they wouldn't be able to send billions of dollars. And you have 80% of the banks, I think, in Japan that are using this, you know, as well as other people. So
okay. Okay. So I guess the main question is if I haven't already, I have XRP, not a lot because, you know, it's already at over $2. Is it too late? Should I get into keep buying XRP, keep buying it every week, every month, whatever it is, Should I keep allocating money each month, putting it into XRP and buying it? Or is it too late?
There's no better way to do anything, in my opinion. Now, I want to make this clear. I am not a financial advisor. Anything I say on here is my opinion. Do not do anything that I do or say that I do. This is just for entertainment purposes, whatever, the whole disclaimer thing. As far as finance, I deal with my own finances, not everyone else's. With that being said, speak to a financial planner or something like that if you want advice. Don't get advice from me. But with that being said, I have had my ups and downs in finance for 25 years, whatever it is. I can tell you right now, dollar cost averaging, I've never seen anything better. And what I mean by that is, I had a video, I think it's on this channel, where I said, I wanted a certain amount of coins of HBAR. So I just bought it at a certain price. I bought it at 24 cents. And literally 1 week later, it went all the way down to 16. It has not gotten past, I don't even know, 21 cents since that. If I would have waited 1 week, now if I was dollar cost averaging, meaning if I was buying a little bit every week, like let's just say every Monday, that never would have happened. And when it dropped to 16, then I could have plowed in there and said, you know what, instead of the same amount, let's say I was buying $50 every week. Instead of $50, I could have said, you know what, I'm going to spend $1,000 now because it's so low. But I went all in on 24 cents. And so I don't really care, to be honest with you, because I think it's going to be worth way more than that, but I would have got way more coins. And so for someone like yourself, like I have XRP in a buy order in at like $1.90, but it might never go there. But that day that it went down to $1.50 or wherever it was, that strange day, I wonder if I had a buy order in at that price, if it would have went through. I'm not sure. But dollar cost averaging basically means every week or every day, but I'd say every week, because it's just easier. Every week you decide how much you can spend, and you just put it in there. And the weeks go by and by and by, and you just don't even realize it, but you're just accumulating. And that's the way that you do it. And that's the way, when most people, when they came out with like 401ks and all this stuff, if you get a 401k, if you have a job, you have a guy who comes in and sits down with you, and I haven't done this in a long time and working for myself for a long time, but back when I used to work for somebody, they come in, okay, let's set up your 401k and pick these whatever ETFs, whatever the heck it was. And
yeah, you could choose a plan in which the company has certain stocks that they invest in for you. And
and every paycheck, the point that I'm trying to make is every paycheck, they take a certain percentage out and they put it into that 401k. That's dollar cost averaging. That's what that is. So you just do that on your own. You just say, I'm going to put in $50 a week or whatever the number is. It doesn't matter, because you'll see that, like, let's just say I did that for XRP since 2017. I mean, it would have went up to $3.75, and then it would have went all the way down to like 21 cents. And if I would have looked at the average right now that I would have paid, because it was at like under 50 cents for 4 years. So I would have been pissed off that I was paying $3 for it at some point. But riding it down, then I would have been buying, and then riding now back up, you would, I would have made a ton of money. And that's just the way you should do it, in my opinion.
Okay. So then following into my next question, as an average person, you might not be
saying average person, but go ahead.
As somebody that doesn't have too much knowledge, but wants to be into the game, you want to be part of it somewhat. Yeah. You want to have your foot in the door. What should be a goal of amount? Is it 1,000 coins, 2,000 coins?
I think everybody should have a goal who's in this, who's part of the XRP army, which you are, because you own some. So do I. And you also have to believe in it. There was a time where I didn't believe in it, because I thought, you're going up against the government, the SEC. But I have one of my videos where I said a family member of mine told me exactly what was going to happen. He's knows the insiders, and he's the same guy who told me that there was somebody who was flying little kids to an island, and blah blah blah. And I was like, this guy's crazy. Until Jeffrey Epstein stuff came out, that's when I said I got to start listening to this guy. So it wasn't when I started listening to it, but I forget when the Epstein thing popped. But I was like, I can't believe that I was at a party with this guy, like a Christmas party or whatever it was. He's telling me about Jeff. He didn't say Jeffrey Epstein. There was no names. It was someone is flying little kids on a plane to an island where grown men are going to. And I don't want to get into it, but I'm like, this dude really lost his marbles. Then that came out, and I said, you know what? He really is on the inside. He really does talk to these insiders. He was pitching XRP to me. Once again, I believed, but I didn't believe 100%. Now I'm 100% in. And so to answer your question was, how much should you get? I believe, so for instance, if I was to throw a number, even if you had 1,000 of them, would be amazing, because 99% of the people do a study with this. I have friends of mine that have done this, where they've gone into a bank, whatever bank or whatever, and they ask the people behind the counter, do you know what XRP is? I actually have a friend who does this all the time, and he says 99 out of 100 will say, I have no idea. So when he gets in an Uber, hey, you ever heard of XRP? When he gets in, goes to a bank, when he goes to the grocery store, he just says, hey, you ever heard of XRP, the crypto? And they're like, no, what is that? That's going to show you how far ahead you are from everyone else. So I'd say 1,000 coins is your first goal. 2,500 is your second goal. Anything after 2,500, you're doing fantastic. I even think 1,000. I mean, what would that be? That cost like $3,000 right now or something like that. So it's a lot of money for a lot of people.
Yeah,
so that would be a great goal.
Okay. So I guess the next question should be is, where can I buy this? Where is it? Is it Coinbase? I know Robinhood is very popular with people my age. We buy almost a lot of stuff on Robinhood. Where is there an app or somewhere that I should buy this?
I've used a bunch of different places. Of course, I use Coinbase, Uphold. I had to use Uphold because I was buying during the days when every exchange got rid of it. Pretty much, not all. I mean, 90% of the exchanges, or 99, got rid of XRP. You couldn't even buy it. But Uphold, that's when I learned about Uphold. And so I was buying on Uphold because of that reason. And now Uphold has it's a wallet on there. Look, I'm a big advocate. I listen to Jake Claver. I have to disclose this. I'm a client of his, not for all his products, but for one, particular product. But his digital ascension group or whatever, I've done some business with them. So I have to disclose that, I guess you would say. But he doesn't know who I am. He has no idea unless he saw a video possibly. But I'm a big advocate of what he says. And some of the stuff, when you listen to him, you might think that he sounds crazy. He says that it's going to $750 by the end of this year, a coin. I don't believe that. But who am I to say that? He's been in rooms with Brad Garlinghouse, the CEO of Ripple. He's been in rooms with, probably all these, these high-end bankers and stuff like that. A lot of these guys that work at Ripple. He's been to Ripple Swell in New York. He's been all over the place. He has his own company. I watch his videos and stuff like that, and I get a lot of great information. And then he'll say something that most people will think is nuts, about price prediction or something like that. But so the person who thinks he's nuts is sitting in their basement watching, what's that Japanese cartoon stuff?
Anime.
They're sitting in a basement watching anime. And this guy is in New York, San Francisco, Miami, You know, Dallas, Texas, Tampa, Florida, if he's ever there. Shout out to my home, my home. You know, he's all over the place, and he's probably overseas and everything. So you're going to listen to a guy like that, or you're going to listen to some kid on a comment that's watching anime say that this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. Now, I honestly, I mean, just that, you know, I don't think that it's going to $7.50 a coin, but to say that it's not going to $10 a coin or 20 or 50, when I've watched multiple videos, because you swirl around, like you watch this person's video, you watch that one, you learn this, you talk about it. I'm talking to you. They need the coin to be a certain price because there's 100 billion coins, but they only have a certain amount that's transactable. You know, they don't have 100 billion. First of all, almost half of that is in escrow, being unused. You know, that will eventually be out, but it's in escrow by Ripple. Then you have retail investors. So really, you only have about 4 billion coins, I think, out there that are able to be transacted. As this company grows and grows and grows, they're going to need that price to go up, because if you only have 4 billion coins, let's say, and someone wants to send $1 billion, what if another person wants to send $1 billion and another person wants to send? If you have 4 billion and that's it, there might not be people that are able to use it. But if the price is way up, they're going to be able to send less coins because it's going to be worth more money. So if you want to send $1 billion right now, let's say the price was $1, you'd have to send 1 billion coins. But if that price, then my math is terrible, if that price is $100, now instead of sending 1 billion coins, it's 100 times less than that. What's 100 times? What's 1 billion divided by 100? It's like 1 million or whatever. So you only have to send 1 million coins now to get the same amount of money cross border. Does that make sense?
It does.
The price has to go up, because if not, they're not going to have enough coins for liquidity. And so that's where I believe the price has to go. Now, 750 by the end of this year. It's already November, like it's November 12th. And, you know, I don't think the ETFs are going to do it. It didn't do it for Solana. It didn't do it for Ethereum. It didn't really do, I mean, IBIT did pretty well for Bitcoin or whatever, but that's not what exploded their prices. And Ethereum didn't do anything, you know, when their ETF came out. So it's not, the ETF's coming out tomorrow for XRP, the spot ETF, which is important. Anybody listening, I personally would never buy anything that's not spot. I wouldn't buy futures contracts or anything. Spot means that, like Canary Capital is coming out with an ETF. That means if they want to give out as an ETF 1 billion coins, they have to have 1 billion coins of XRP. So it's 1 for 1. So there's no scam. There's no losing. It's either up or down, you know, with the price.
Okay. All right. So I guess I would have to ask is what is the key component that's pushing the success, the portray of the success of XRP?
What do you mean the portray?
Like, as you say, people are saying it could go up to $750, or it could go up to $50 or $100. What is it that gives people that confidence to say, I believe it's gonna go from $2.40, which I think it's hovering now, to even up to $10 or $20?
All right. So there's multiple things. Number one, I just told you, for liquidity purposes, it has to be way higher. That's number one. Number two, if you look at where the company of Ripple, first of all, they have a stable coin now. They didn't have a stable coin before. XRP L, you know, like basically, I guess it was RippleNet. Like they have the rails to send the money. You know, they have what I just went over. I mean, they're going to be a bank at some point. They have investments, billions of dollars every year, acquiring companies, connecting with people. It's already being used throughout the entire, in certain parts of the world, it's being used. So it's not like Bitcoin. Name anybody who sent Bitcoin from one to, you know, they tried it out. Go down to what's the country? Not Venezuela. The country down in Central America or whatever, where Bitcoin is their, one of their official, payment coins or whatever. Nobody's using it. They had people that went down there and were interviewing people that these poor people are not using Bitcoin. I mean, as a country, they're investing in it, but we are going to be using this. This is going to be like a dollar bill almost. Like, you're not going to be hoarding. Some people hoard their dollar bills, but you have to spend it. You're going to be spending it on different things. That's what's going to happen with XRP. As far as price appreciation, like I said, if you listen to somebody like Jake Claver, he talks about the reverse carry trade and all these different things. There's going to the number one thing that I see is it has to be at a certain price for the banks to be able to use it, or there's not going to be enough liquidity in the market. It's really that simple. All the other stuff, ETFs, okay, the ETFs company has to buy 1 billion coins if they want to put it on an exchange. So let's say you have E-Trade or you have a Schwab account or Fidelity or anywhere that you buy your ETFs, right? Where do you buy your ETFs?
Where do I buy me specifically?
Yeah. Where do you buy your stocks? Where do you buy anything?
Fidelity.
Okay. So Fidelity, Canary Capital, or let's say Fidelity had a spot ETF, but Canary Capital, let's say you go there and you want to buy this from Canary Capital. They have to have, they can't sell 2 billion XRP coins if they only have 1 billion. It's a spot ETF. So they have to have the same amount that they're putting on an ETF that you can invest in, which means they have to buy it. Well, what happens when all these people that file for an ETF are buying up all the coins? Retail guys like me and you, we're not buying billions of dollars of coins. If we were, we wouldn't be sitting here. We'd probably be in the Cayman Islands, like with margaritas and 100 different girls running around in bikinis. So those guys are the ones that are going to be buying it. So the ETF, I believe, the price is going to go up eventually. It has to. I think the reason why the Solana price didn't go up and Ethereum and even, Bitcoin's gone up, but I think it's because they're not using the coins. So, I think personally, Ethereum to me is like whatever. I know a lot of things are being built on it. I just think 10 years from now, they're going to come up. If Solana doesn't take them out, Sui will take them out, or XRP will take them out. They'll form something that will be like, or H-bar, H-bar, man, is a sleeper, but I don't want to get into that in this video, but XRP, the coin, is going to be used. It's like the dollar bill compared to, there used to be something called, I think it was called the greenback. You've never heard of it because I have
no idea what that is.
Abraham Lincoln, when they fought the Civil War, they had to print money. So they came out with, I think it was called the greenback. You can just Google it. I can just Google it right now. I'll do ChatGPT. What was the greenback? But Abraham Lincoln had to issue more money because of the Civil War. Got its name with green ink, whatever. So it's fiat money. It's no longer here. It's dead. It's dead money. I forget the saying, but basically, you need something that you can transact with. You're not going to transact with Ethereum. You're not going to transact with Bitcoin. You're not going to transact with Solana. H-bar is going to be used for, I think, for tokenization and stuff like that. But XRP is going to be the coin that you transact with.
Okay. And then I know before our meeting, we were talking a little bit and you mentioned Evernorth. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah. So anyone who understands, like I said, Michael Saylor, if you look him up, do you know who he is?
I do not. I do not know much about Michael.
Okay, sorry. Go ahead. I'm going to keep cutting you off, but you don't know.
No, I do not know who Michael Saylor is.
Okay. Michael Saylor is a guy who, if you go through his videos like 5 years ago or something, not now, but interviews from like 5 years ago, he had a whole lot of cash. He has a company called MicroStrategy, and they had a whole lot of money. And they're like, okay, what are we going to do with this money? Because cash loses value. You know, if you have $1 right now, you might be able to get a pack of gum. Probably not. You might be able to get something at the supermarket, grocery store, like maybe a piece of chocolate up at that thing, up at the counter. In 10 years, you will not be able to get that piece of chocolate with that dollar. It loses value. So if you have $1 billion or whatever they had, you have to put that money somewhere. It's just the way that our system works. It's called fiat money. It's trash. You know, cash is trash. So anyway, that's why people buy real estate. That's why people buy stocks. That's why people buy ETFs. Michael Saylor did a real hard look at what he should buy, whether it would be stocks of other companies, gold, real estate down in high-end markets like Palm Beach or something like that, somewhere in Miami. He did or Bitcoin. And he did a really hard look and figured out Bitcoin is the one that's gone up by 50% every year and blah, blah, blah. He did all his research and decided, I'm going to put all my money into Bitcoin. And he was like the pioneer of what they call a treasury company. So now other people bought MicroStrategy because it was a public company. MicroStrategy was buying Bitcoin. Other people were buying MicroStrategy, not because what MicroStrategy does, it's because they owned Bitcoin. And so now the stock went up. So now other people are starting to do the same thing with different coins, like Solana, XRP, and Evernorth is a treasury company for XRP. So if you want to be a guy like me that you go, you know, I don't think I would do this today. Years ago, not too long ago, 2017, 2022, whatever. I have a lot of videos out where in 2022, I was talking about buying XRP. When I look at them, it makes me want to cry because it's like, I'm talking about 31 cents and XRP and stuff like that. And I'm like, how am I even talking about this? I should have been like, it's 31 cents. I don't care if it goes to 35, buy. But, you know, I was kind of looking at charts and all this other crap. But I was buying off exchanges, you know, and you get killed with fees and all this other stuff. But a lot of people with Evernorth, if they can buy that and you can buy, you know, let's say you buy it through your 401k if you can or whatever, or you buy it on the stock market. It's very simple. You just go to your Fidelity account, put in XRPN, I think it's the ticker symbol, and you buy it. And that's it. It's clean. For me, I wanted to buy at 31 cents and XRP and all this stuff, which is a great thing, but I had to buy it off an exchange, get killed with fees, put it on, you know, a ledger or cold wallet, you know, hide it in my drawer at first, then take it, put it in a safe, you know, or put it in, you know, whatever, a safe place. And you have to have all these numbers, you know, the keys and all this other crap. And it's a pain in the ass. I mean, it's a pain. The easiest thing is just to buy either the ETF or a treasury company. But here's the thing. Treasury companies, the price when it comes to MicroStrategy, you know, for his Bitcoin treasury company, you know, that went up. That was like the fastest growing company in the S&P 500 or something like that. So they're saying Evernorth could be a better investment than even the ETFs. That's what they're saying.
Okay.
That's what Evernorth is. It's a treasury company. You're buying that company not because they do anything, not because they sell this product or they sell, you know, this product or whatever. It's because they're buying XRP.
Okay. So I guess when it comes to that is you have two options. You can either buy the, you know, like you said, the ETF for XRP is coming out tomorrow. So you can either buy the ETF or buy the coin.
Yeah. Or Evernorth.
What is, when it comes to that, should I buy the ETF or should I buy the coin?
I don't think you're going to be able to buy the coins much longer. And I don't know I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, like I said, it's going to be a spot ETF that's coming out tomorrow. So you're going to get one for one. I to answer that question, I mean, it's different for me because, you know, okay, you're a young guy. Really, if you talk to a tax accountant, he would probably tell you buy the Evernorth or buy the ETF because you can put it, most likely you'll be able to put that in your Roth IRA or something like that.
Okay.
And then it's going to be tax free. If you're using after tax money to buy it, which I'm doing to buy XRP anyway, which really sucks. I'm getting no tax benefits from it. Do you understand what I'm saying? If I was buying it through a Roth IRA or something like that, or even a traditional IRA, I would be able to do, and this might be a little bit too much for the audience, but if I was buying it through my, I actually have something different. It's a solo 401k, but if I was buying it through there, I would get a tax deduction off of my taxes through my business. If I was buying it through my Roth IRA with after-tax dollars, which you would probably be doing, when you're 65 and you start taking, or I'm 59 and a half, whatever, after 60, when you start taking out that money, it's going to be tax-free. So if XRP is $10,000 a coin, you could be a billionaire taking out that money tax-free.
Okay. So the ETF is the long game investment.
Could be. I don't think you're going to be able to buy it on exchanges much longer. I don't think you're going to be able to. I think it's going to be gone. I think the ETFs are going to buy it up. I think listen, never in the history of, I guess, the world, or at least the United States, let's say, have you been able to front run the institutions. Usually what happens, I'll give you a little story. In 2012, and I specifically remember the table I was sitting at, the date, not the date, but 2012, I'm pretty sure. When Facebook came out, when they IPO'd on their stock, basically you could buy that. Warren Buffett and them were able to buy it preferred at like $20. And then when it came out, I think it came out at like $35. Now, it actually went back down to 20, but these guys were able, the institutions were able to front run purchasing XRP before the regular public, like me, you, and everybody else probably were watching. Never in the history has it been like this, like it is now with XRP, where we're able to buy before the institutions come in. When the institutions come in, they're going to try to buy up everything. So we have to buy as much as we can right now so that when the institutions come in, we've already gotten ours. But this is the first time in history that we've been able to do this. So, this is like a pretty significant thing going on, So it's big, it's really big.
Okay. All right. So the clock is ticking per se. I mean, you would just do your own research.
Yeah, back up a little bit if you don't mind, so I can see. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think the ETFs and I think Evernorth, I think these are going to be great plays, in the future, because I think the reason why it was cool or more not efficient, but better to buy the coin is because there were no ETFs. There were no treasury companies. When the coin was 31 cents, you either get in, or 50 cents, you either jump in and buy the coin, or there's nowhere else to buy it. But now, it's kind of like, especially for people that are not into this, stuff. Listen, I was buying gold and silver and hoarding it in a safe. At first I was in Utah. I was in like a Fort Knox type place, and I'm like paying for this, and now I still have a lot of gold and silver, and it's in a safe. I can't wait to get rid of this crap. I don't want it. I want a people, when you buy the stock or the ETF or whatever, you get a piece of paper that says this is what you have. All right, great. This is how much I have. I have 10,000. I have 50,000. When you have it on a cold wallet and all this stuff, you got to keep it somewhere. Like I said, you have to have your keys. There's all sorts of stuff that goes in. It's a pain in the ass. And that's why 99% of people don't know about it. But I think I heard Robinhood, it's hard to get it off of there. But I think you're doing all right. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
You can ask me other questions, if you can think of any.
No, I mean that right now, at least, that basically summed up a lot of my quick questions that I had.
It's a shame that people your age, listen, you missed out on Bitcoin. You're 24 years old. So it's been around since 2009. So it's, going on 17 years, 16 years. So you were a kid, you were like 8 years old when Bitcoin came out. You didn't have a shot. It's $110,000 right now. Your generation, what are you, Gen Z, I guess, or whatever it is, 24 years old. You're like, you didn't have a shot at getting Bitcoin. You have a shot at this. You have a shot at XRP. You have a shot at HBAR. You have a shot at XLM. I mean, you have a shot at Solana and all this other stuff. I just think it's pretty expensive, and I just don't. I hate to say this. I do own it. I'll disclose that. But I just don't. I don't know. I'm hopefully I'm proved wrong about Solana. But XRP to me is the beast. It's the chosen one. I think HBAR is just like, as far as use cases, like I think it's just as good, but that's like saying a Toyota and a Honda are just as good as cars, but Toyota sells 50,000 more cars a year, which isn't true. I'm just saying, well, then you're going to want, the stock of Toyota. You're not, if Honda's just as good, so what? You know what I mean? I don't know who sells more or whatever, but that's the way I look at HBAR and XRP. I stocked up on HBAR, but I don't believe in it nearly as much as I believe in XRP. It's the chosen one. It's not going. If it goes back down, it's going to shoot right back up. It would have to be like a COVID type thing or some kind of disaster for it to even go down. Most likely, I don't even know if that would take it down to under $2 or under $1 or whatever. I don't think it's ever going back to 50 cents. So I think your dollar cost average now, and when it dips under $2, you plow in there and buy as much as you can. And keep in mind, our money is always debt. There's always going to be inflation. It's the way that our money works. If there's ever deflation, we're done. So,
well, I appreciate it. I appreciate your insight on when it comes to XRP and all these other tokens and coins. I like you said, I think for people my age, we look at Bitcoin, and I was around 9 years old, and when I was playing baseball or whatever I was doing at the time, I had no shot. I was unaware.
Yeah, you didn't have a shot, so it's gone. So leave it in the past. I had a shot, and I took some shots, but I didn't take enough. If I did, I'd be sitting in Puerto Rico with the rest of the Bitcoin billionaires. But pass it, jump on XRP, and then XRP's 30 cents, 50 cents, and someone said, "Oh, I didn't buy enough," and okay, well, jump on HBAR, but you got to take a shot, if you're going to take a shot. Nothing is 100% guaranteed, just like Bitcoin wasn't. But your generation, like I said, even having a sliver, imagine buying 10 Bitcoins, at $10 a piece and saying, "I don't think this is going to go anywhere." I mean, it's 100. What's 10 times 10? It's $100.
Yeah.
I mean, $100, and people are like, "Yeah, I don't know." Well, I mean, I didn't realize how to buy Bitcoin back then, and everything. It was just crazy. But here it is, man. This is it. XRP is the one that I think you're not going to lose. And then when you really start looking into like the sharp people that are involved, start looking at Brad Garlinghouse, and if you can find where it's not this fake stuff, and start looking at the Jake Clavers, and I don't know who some other XRP, really, really knows. There's some people out there that really know the stuff, the tech end of it. I'm not one of them, I'm getting there as far as the tech end of it, but I do know when I see a good thing and where it's being used and so forth. The utility is the whole reason why I buy XRP and bought it in the past. So awesome. Anyway, it was great having this conversation. We'll have to do it again. And, keep buying little at a time, man. $10 every week. Start with that. Doesn't matter. you know?
Yeah, no, I appreciate your insight. I appreciate your time, and I'll look forward to talking with you in the future.
Yeah, man. Let's do it. I'll see you.
All right, appreciate it.